Hey everybody, it's your boy, Baseman Awakens, checking in with you for the latest video on my Baseman Awakens YouTube channel. Before I get started, I just want to wish everyone a happy new year. Yes, we are in the year 2019. 2019, it is my personal belief, is a year of change. There's going to be a lot of things coming to the forefront that a lot of people weren't expecting and couldn't even believe that could happen in this country. And that is part of the reason why I decided to start the Baseman Awakens YouTube channel. Check out the first video I did to find out more about my thoughts about 2019. And also remember, every Sunday is when I drop a new video on this channel. So just check out the channel every Sunday and you'll see a new video. All right, with that being said, we're going to jump into the topic. And today I want to talk about, the controversy surrounding R. Kelly and the new documentary series that was dropped about him called Surviving R. Kelly. But I want to make this a two-part video and to connect it with the larger issue of sexual abuse in the Black community. I mean, how it's affecting people on an individual level and why it's being covered up. So a couple of days ago, my fiance and I were talking, and she told me about, there's been like a lot of buzz and feedback on this new Lifetime docuseries, 6-part docuseries called Surviving R. Kelly. And even though she hadn't seen it and neither have I decided to do some research into it because I thought it'd be a great topic to talk about. I went to the Lifetime website and I got a synopsis on it. And I also did some more background research on R. Kelly's personal life and also his career as a whole. Now, specifically about the docuseries, it's basically interviews with a number of different females, adult females, who have accused R. Kelly of abuse, either as teenagers or as young adults. But just as importantly, it also includes commentary from the founder of the Me Too movement. And I've talked about the Me Too movement in more detail in my previous video about toxic masculinity. So I thought this would be very interesting in terms of the timing and the purpose of this docuseries. And I'm pretty sure some of you are asking why. And the reason why I find this interesting is because, one, everything is done for a reason. Things are not just done at random. So I found it interesting that individuals or people decide to put together an agenda to basically try to rip down R. Kelly. And the reason is because R. Kelly, in terms of his dealings with underage women and just his behavior in general in his personal life, it's been well known for decades, not years, decades, right? Now let's go back to R. Kelly's career. He started in the game in the late 80s, a part of this R&B group called Public Announcement. Then he started his own solo career. And this is in the early 90s. In the mid 90s, I don't know if some of you guys are, were paying attention or even born at this time, but there was an R&B singer called Aaliyah who in the mid 90s, her career was just still starting. She was a teenager. R. Kelly married her when she was 15 years old. Even though Aaliyah's parents, Aaliyah and R. Kelly denied it, it was proven that they were married, right? This is the mid 90s, and they ultimately got divorced. And then in the early 2000s, there was a video that surfaced of R. Kelly engaging in sexual acts and also urinating on an underage girl. Now, it took a couple years for that to turn into a court case, and long story short, he was actually acquitted. So I'm saying that I find this interesting about the accusations about R. Kelly's behavior because everybody's known about it for decades, which leads me to think about this from a logical perspective, as my mentor Neely Fuller would say. Why are they dropping this documentary series now, and what's the ultimate agenda? So that's just my first part of the analysis. My second part of the analysis is just taking a look at R. Kelly's career as a whole. R. Kelly's an R&B singer. Who is the primary consumer of R&B music? Women. If you go to a male R&B singer's concert, it's 90% females, and the remaining 10% are those unlucky boyfriends and husbands who've been dragged to that concert. So in other words, like if people really want to hold R. Kelly accountable or to end his career, this could have happened a long time ago, right? And then going back to the accusers who were most of whom were underage females at the time, we got to ask, where were their parents? So apparently these females were supposedly recruited into R. Kelly's, I guess he had like some group where he had these up and coming singers where he would train them, take them on the road, and supposedly show them the ropes. So we got to ask, like, everybody's known about R. Kelly and how he gets down for the last 2 decades. So one, these young girls, I'm assuming that they knew about it, which is fine. I'm not trying to say it's fine, but they're young girls, so obviously they're not thinking it through. But more importantly, where were their parents? I'm thinking, if I have a young daughter and she has a voice or she has some talent, and then R. Kelly comes along and says, hey, I want to train your daughter, I would definitely be like, no, that's not happening. Right? And then there's the other aspect to this about R. Kelly being an R&B superstar. Let's take a look at who he's worked with. Now, R. Kelly's a very successful R&B artist. According to the Billboard, he's actually been the most successful R&B artist in the last 25 years. And his success doesn't just come from him as an artist by himself, but also the fact that he writes and produces for other people. Now, he's written for Michael Jackson, he's written for Maxwell, he's written for a lot of female artists and done duets with a lot of female artists. He's written for Toni Braxton, Britney Spears, and he's written for and done collaborations with Beyonce. Now think about that. He's written and done work with Beyonce. Beyonce full knowing this man's history. Now Beyonce has put herself out there as be this representative for the independent, progressive, I can do it all type of woman, even though she's married, and she waited till she was married to have her kids, but that's a whole nother topic. But again, if he's such a, everybody knows about this guy, why is Mrs. I Represent Women's Empowerment working with him? And this leads to my third point about this video, right? Society's hypocrisy. Like, again, how R. Kelly gets down, it's no secret. As I was doing research about this, I found out this man, and this is after the sex tapes with the underage girl, he got 6 NAAP image awards. 6. That doesn't sound crazy to you? And on top of that, after the sex tape situation, and I believe also after the trial too, he dropped a gospel album. And that first gospel album was actually the most popular gospel album that year that it dropped. So it was the most in terms of plays and in terms of unit sales. But again, take a look at who we're talking about here. So we gotta start thinking about this on a bigger level. Like, so what message is society sending to R. Kelly, and why all of a sudden now, especially since we've known about how this dude's gotten down for the last 2 decades, is this docuseries coming out, and why are all of a sudden people pretending that they're caring? And to cap it off, my third point is that, R. Kelly's such a big star that he's had the ability to make other projects that are associated with him successful. Now, I'm an 80s baby, so some of you guys might not remember this, or you weren't even born yet, but in the mid 90s, there was a cartoon movie specifically devoted to children called Space Jam. And again, this came out around, I think, after R. Kelly had divorced Aaliyah, the underage female, and R. Kelly wrote, produced, and performed the lead single on the soundtrack. And I'm arguing that song, I Believe I Can Fly, helped to propel and make that cartoon movie what it was, which is very, very successful. And I believe that cartoon movie is actually produced by Disney. So again, Disney didn't know what type of man that they're dealing with. All right. So that covers the first part of this topic. Me giving my thoughts about us having to question the agenda of this docuseries, Digging a little deeper into these women who or may not be telling the truth. I'm not challenging that, but we got to ask a deeper question. If they were underage girls, one, didn't they know about R. Kelly? Because there's been news about how he gets down for decades. And more importantly, where were their parents? And then taking a look at the hypocrisy of our society. Beyonce doing duets with this guy. This is a woman that's all about women's empowerment, but she don't mind him writing songs for her and doing duets. And then also this man getting 6 NAACP awards. But what I want to do in the second half of this, this video is to connect R. Kelly's story to the larger issue, which I think a lot of people are intentionally distracted from, of the problem of sexual abuse in the Black community. When I was doing research on R. Kelly, I came across multiple sources that talked about the fact that he was actually sexually molested as a child by an older woman. And in addition to that, R. Kelly was actually a victim of a shooting. A random bullet hit him in the shoulder. And for what I read, it's actually still lodged in there. And I'm not here to defend R. Kelly, but what I'm here to do is to lay out some facts. The fact is that he has gone through a ton of trauma, particularly in regards to the sexual abuse. That is trauma, and that was conducted against him by older women. That has shaped his sexual relationships and his sexual beliefs. I don't know how, but we do know that is a fact. People who are victims of trauma typically tend to victimize others as either because they think it's normalized or because they want to feel a way of they want to feel some power, and they feel power by inflicting that same pain on other people. I think it's key that we look at the behavior of R. Kelly in one of those sex tapes in which he was essentially peeing on that underage girl. When you are peeing on someone, you're degrading them, you're humiliating them. And I think, if we look at that specific thing, it speaks to R. Kelly's view of women. And I wouldn't be surprised that actually comes from how he was degraded when he was sexually abused / molested when he was a kid. Now, again, I'm not here to defend R. Kelly's behavior, but what I'm trying to do is to get people to think a little bit deeper in terms of possibly where his behaviors come from. And then thinking about R. Kelly and me just thinking about some of the crazy behaviors that I see among many Black people, it leads me to believe that this sexual abuse thing is actually much more common than we want to admit. Like, I think about some of my friends, particularly when I was in high school and college, that, had the reputations of being, the man because they were always getting the women and chasing after women. But it's kind of crazy because with a few of them, I really got a chance to develop a deep relationship with them and come to find out that these dudes were actually molested or sexually abused or raped by older women or even men when they were young. So their sexual interest and behavior became sort of like a compulsion or addiction. It wasn't because they enjoy sex so much, but that was their way of actually feeling power, which is kind of crazy because these are dudes I looked up to and I thought that they were the men, but little did I realize that they actually felt like nothing. And as I talk to you guys about this, it makes me think of Bill Clinton, where Bill Clinton is known as being a ladies' man, but the little people realize he was actually sexually abused by his own mother. And it also makes me think about this video that I saw about Lil Wayne. And this video came out 10 years ago. This is when Cash Money was big. And Lil Wayne was in the studio with a young signee. He was like a 15-year-old male rapper. And they were having a discussion. And Wayne came to find out that the little kid actually had not had sex yet. So Lil Wayne was like, we're going to change that. And in talking about his own sexual experience, Lil Wayne said that he was raped, but that he liked it. Now let's think about it here. Lil Wayne said he was raped, but then he liked it. And I was checking his body language. He looked down when he said it, which means that he did not like it and he felt shame. And it also leads me to believe that in him wanting the kid to lose his virginity, that Lil Wayne wanted to inflict that same level of trauma on that child as was done to him. Now, I'm going to leave this video short. I just want to share my thoughts on the whole R. Kelly situation. Remember to check out the Baseman Awakens YouTube channel every Sunday for new videos.